Hey guys. So today we're going to be talking about another McCarthy book. So I read this one right after I finished The Road. Just a quick update, I guess. I'm working my way through these two right now. So this is the book we talked about last time. It's the collection of Emerson. And I'm also reading this, Philip K. Dick, Valis. I saw this online and I thought it looked interesting. Pretty good. I haven't made too much headway, 3-4 chapters in for Valis, but Emerson's been taking up a lot of my time recently. But today I wanted to talk about The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Sometimes I do know that some high schools make it a mandatory reading for if you guys do like a literature class, or maybe like an AP, maybe AP literature. I think it was. I think I had exposure to it in standard English class. But I read it after I read Blood Meridian. I had originally read The Road, I want to say maybe like 10 years ago, but it was really, I wasn't in the mood. I sort of skimmed it. It was for class. I didn't really appreciate it too much. But after reading Blood Meridian, I decided I wanted more McCarthy. And so I picked up The Road. I think I finished it in about a day. And I think The Road is such an important book for a few reasons. First of all, it's a very light read. I think it's really it's an easy read. It's a light read. It reminds me in a lot of ways of how Hemingway writes, where it's very very simple wording, very simple English, simple prose, but the prose carries such weight. There's so many scenes in The Road where he's not using you know he's not using crazy language, but the meaning that he can sort of convey to the reader is immense. There's also some really funny parts in the book. I remember there's one. Now this won't really be spoilers. I won't have any spoiler alerts. But before we get into like the main meat of the discussion, there's a point in the book where so it's a man and a boy, and they're in like this sort of like post-apocalyptic wasteland, right? And there's a scene where they run into this old guy. And I think they estimate he's like 70, 80 years old. He's like this really old man. And just the dialogue, the back and forth, I swear to God, it made me laugh out loud. Like I never thought that like a post-apocalyptic sort of doom and gloom book would be funny. And I don't even know if it was intended to be funny, but I was dying laughing. It was a really good exchange. They're basically going back and forth with the old man, and it's funny because like you see in movies and TV, when things are post-apocalyptic, people tend to act a little bit differently. Everyone's a little bit more wary, more cautious when approaching a stranger. And so there's this fun sort of back and forth that happens where they want to help the old man, and he doesn't really pose a threat because he's so old and frail. And I think they say he must weigh like 100 pounds, right? Like he's like this husk of a man. But they want to help him, but at the same time they're not sure if he's gonna harm them, because everyone in this wasteland sort of harms them. But the back and forth there is written so well, and it's so sort of short and I found it very short and witty, and it was making me laugh out loud. But back to the original point. So The Road is nice because it's so accessible. It is a much lighter read than Blood Meridian. So if you guys haven't read McCarthy before, I'd say start with The Road. You can sort of get a feeling for his style and like the way he, I guess, tells stories. Because in a lot of ways, so I do think The Road was written after Blood Meridian, but in a lot of ways, The Road is like a very simplified version of McCarthy's style, where you have run-on sentences, pages just sort of bleed into one another. There's no sort of clear, I wouldn't say there's no clear, but it's less clear, what happens when, and time sort of jumps around a little bit. And McCarthy sort of writes in this way where it's like a flow of consciousness as an observer. So you're an observer looking at this man and this boy in the wasteland. I guess I should start by maybe introing to the book if you guys haven't heard about it. So The Road, what's the basic story is, there's been this event. We don't know what the event is. This event has happened, and we're, I think, let's say 100 years after the event, and it's wiped out most people. Most people are dead by now, and we join the story of a man and a boy, and they're on this mission to get to the eastern seaboard. So they're starting somewhere close to it, somewhere, let's say, maybe in the Midwest, maybe closer to the, Middle Eastern United States, and they're walking on various roads to get to the eastern seaboard, because they're hoping that there's some sort of salvation there, right? And it is in many ways this like age-old story of like this journey through. I mean, you could draw a parallel with, Dante's. It's sort of like this journey through hell to reach heaven, and then you're sort of, there's that saying: if you find yourself in hell, if you're walking and you look around and you realize you're in hell, don't stop walking. You want to keep walking, because wherever you're going, even if there's more hell ahead, you wouldn't ever want to take a break or stop in hell. And so that's sort of where our characters find themselves, is they're in hell and they're trying to get out. And so they're walking through it. And McCarthy sort of pieces together very piecemeal these sorts of encounters with different aspects of hell, right? You have, you see the lowest points that they run into these bandits and these outlaws, of course, and you see sort of like the lowest forms of man, what sort of man can do to fellow man when they're desperate, when there's no sort of rule of law, when there's no uniting, religious obligations, when there's no sort of moral adherence, I guess. You see what man is capable of at their lowest, but also you get to see these glimpses of something that is, this is a common theme in a lot of art, but something that's uniquely human, which is the idea of hope. And hope is something that carries the characters throughout the entire journey. And it's funny, even in moments, when they're by a campfire after a long day of walking, even when everything is sort of stacked against them and they know that they're most likely not going to make it, they're starving, they're dying of thirst, things like that. There is still this sort of underpinning, this line of hope that runs throughout the book. And that's what I think is most beautiful about The Road, is it talks about, if you abstract the ideas, it's really every person's journey through life. You're going to run into bad encounters. You're going to run into, they say life comes in seasons. You'll have seasons of plenty. You'll see our characters in the book have seasons of plenty and seasons of famine and drought. And it's despite the season you're in, holding on to the railing, right? Holding on to the railing and having a foothold on hope. Sorry about that. Had to get the door. I got my food. But before we eat, we'll finish this video. What was I saying? Yeah, so there's like this this railing, right? This railing of hope that sort of carries our characters through the journey. And I think especially, I don't know if it's, I feel like when I was first exposed to it, it was in high school. And I feel like you don't, at that age, maybe not everyone, but you don't really have that deeper understanding of, it's this concept that, I'm trying to think of how to word it. It's this concept that every story is sort of about the same thing. Every piece of art is sort of about the same thing. Every sculpture, every painting, every movie, every song, maybe not every song, but every poem, it's all about man trying to sort of grapple and grasp at what it means to be human and what it means to sort of be speeding through time, right? And to be running in this, you're on this train and you can't get off, right? And I don't know, I think that's what's so beautiful, is that I think every artist or every author sort of has their own way of approaching it or visualizing it or sort of conveying that story, but it is all the same story. You read things like, you read these great works like, you'll read the Iliad, you'll read Moby Dick, which is a video I want to make soon. You read um, Blood Meridian, you read 1984, you read Crime and Punishment, you read, name it. Almost every book sort of, or most classical literature really does deal with the same issue, which is you've realized that you're human and that you're speeding through time in a linear path, and you're sort of grappling with what it means to be here and to be alive. And I think The Road does that beautifully. As I said, I mean, there's humor sprinkled in. I don't know if other people found it humorous, but there's good dialogue sprinkled in. There's these great relationships that are built between, unnamed characters, between the man and the boy. And you sort of see the duality and the sort of dichotomy of man, right? Where you have this tender care that the man has for the boy, and then you also see this like abhorrent evil that's sort of personified in the existence of like the wastelanders and the bandits. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a great book. I think it's a really good book, and I'd recommend it. I also recommend it to people that want something a little bit a lighter read, in the sense that it is easy to get through. You will sort of add it to your list quickly. It's a quick sort of engaging story. But when you do sort of sit on it and think about what McCarthy is trying to say about us, right? About humans, about what it means to be to have free will and what it means to hope, you realize that perhaps even though the pages were light and easy to flip through, the ideas within those pages are far heavier, and they're ideas that you're gonna most likely spend the rest of your life thinking about and contemplating. So yeah, I think it's an incredible book. I'd really recommend it. I'll probably do a follow up on this. The only problem is right now I'm traveling, so I don't have the book with me. And usually, I take notes in my books, and I'll, underline good quotes and stuff like that. And I'd love to share that with you guys. I don't have that available right now. So I'll probably do a follow up to this video. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know if any of you have read The Road, what you guys thought of it. What else did I want to say? I'll try and finish up Valis and a little bit more Emerson. I just read, this needs a video on its own, but there was a beautiful essay by Emerson that I hadn't ever even heard of before, and I'm so disappointed in myself. This one, Pray Without Ceasing. What a beautiful essay. So I just finished that. I think that needs a standalone video separate from the Emerson one. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. See you in the next one.